Well, after citing down and listening to the multicultural definitions and reference checks to Azazel, a majority of the scriptures say that there are very few mentions of Azazel, and that basically the old scriptures in which most of the canonized texts are translated and written from have no mention of Azazel in any of them. However, while I was listening, a place came into my mind, a ziggurat called the Tower of Azazel, somewhere in the Mount Shems north near Syria. There within lies the evidence that can make whole what has been fragmented. Vision of divination is typical. I am shown a clip of a plotline and shown only key topics that give an abridged understanding of what happens and how it all comes about. Those key topics are then attached to certain events that emulate that topic and are cornerstones to the events unfolding. Mastery of these visions are vital to being a skilled and efficient soothsayer. So what I see in all this is lies upon lies, referencing him to be the father of lies. Angelic law places him to be the angel of the night, similar in duties to Lucifer, but there are other cultural references to these types of tasks such as Ra, nights, Apollo or Demeter for example. This can suggest also that this angelic law was written by human accounts rather than angelic, for it has cultural tones to it. This story most likely is supported by Azazel, knowing him. He is the type who would tell the real story from the beginning and let people change it, as he would rely on the human need to pursue the truth in order to shift the sympathy to his favor later when he is caught for whatever mischief he may get into. He enjoys pushing the edge of the envelope when it comes to the boundaries between us and God, especially sanctified grounds. He could be compared to the character in Anne Rice's Lestat novels of Lestat's Maker Marcus, that natural aristocratic demeanor. As far as appearance goes, he usually favors the image that resembles a young Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Long black straight hair, black wings, thin body frame. I met him as well when I was 14 or 15 years old. He was going by the name of Ash then. His presence has a foreboding sensation like the presence of death, only his presence feels like the night air does at about 2 a.m. in the morning, that cold crisp bite within the air. According to the Book of Enoch, which brings Azazel into connection with the biblical story of the fall of the angels, located on Mount Hermon, a gathering place of demons of old. Azazel is one of the leaders of the rebellious Watchers in the time preceding the flood. He taught men the art of warfare, of making swords, knives, shields, and coats of mail, and taught women the art of deception by ornamenting the body, dyeing the hair, and painting the face and the eyebrows, and also revealed to the people the secrets of witchcraft and corrupted their manners, leading them into wickedness and impurity until at last he was, at Yahweh's command, bound hand and foot by the archangel Raphael and chained to the rough and jagged rocks of Hardudale, equals Beth Hadudo, where he is to abide in utter darkness until the great day of judgment, when he will be cast into the fire to be consumed forever. The whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. Azazel, /Zezel, /ZZL/ Hebrew Azazel, Arabic, Romanized, Azazel, is, according to the Book of Enoch, a fallen angel. In the Bible, the name Azazel appears in association with the scapegoat rite. The name represents a desolate place where a scapegoat bearing the sins of the Jews during Yom Kippur was sent. During the Second Temple period, he appears as a fallen angel responsible for introducing humans to forbidden knowledge. His role as a fallen angel partly remains in Christian and Islamic traditions. In the Hebrew Bible, the term is used thrice in Leviticus 16, where 2 male goats were to be sacrificed to Yahweh and one of the 2 was selected by Lot, for Yahweh is seen as speaking through the lots. 1 goat is selected by Lot and sent into the wilderness, for Azazel. This goat was then cast out in the desert as part of Yom Kippur. The medieval scholar Maimonides, 1194–1270, identified the Hebrew text as also referring to a demon, and identified this Azazel with Samael. However, he did not see the sending of the goat as honoring Azazel as a deity, but as a symbolic expression of the idea that the people's sins and their evil consequences were to be sent back to the spirit of desolation and ruin. the source of all impurity. The very fact that the two goats were presented before God, before the one was sacrificed and the other sent into the wilderness, was proof that Azazel was not ranked alongside God, but regarded simply as the personification of wickedness in contrast with the righteous government of God. Now I have to interrupt on this part as I was shown another version that may tie into the meaning behind the goat as it is explained here. That during the Garden of Eden scenario, after Adam and Eve had been caught eating the fruit, God saw the spirit of Satan passing back and forth between Lucifer and Eve, and God snatched up Satan's spirit and told him, "So you wish to sneak around like a serpent hiding in my garden, then a serpent you shall be." And he tossed Satan's spirit to the ground as it turned into a snake. The serpent ran beneath Adam's feet and was stomped to death under them. The spirit of Satan began to transition. As he did, God snatched him up again. He turned into a mountain goat. Satan was furious and began cursing God's name, swearing revenge upon him and his creation, Adam, and swore he would create a world that would praise him as their God and denounce God as the creator. He climbed up the mountainside and the goat leapt off the top of the mountain to free himself of the goat's form. Satan began to transition into a woman, Lilith, who would go forth to procreate her seed and bring about Satan's world as a war of vengeance against God. However, God snatched him up again and said, "So you want to sneak from here to the hiding behind my creations, biting at their heels to force them to act in ways to ignite my anger towards them?" God tossed Satan to the ground again and said, "So cunning are your ways, ever the serpent you mimic, so a serpent you shall be then for 1,000 years. And you shall not die but simply shed your skin like that of the serpent, and I shall take from you your legs so that you cannot go between them as such but instead have to crawl around on your belly like the serpent you are." Satan tried to free himself of the serpent form again, but instead of dying the serpent's body instead shed a new layer of skin, healing his fatal wound and keeping him trapped within the serpent from. "And I take from you your fangs so that you cannot bring harm to mankind ever again with your poisonous gilded silver tongue." And he then tossed the serpent from the Garden of Eden and commanded Adam not to bring harm to or try and kill the snake, for it is his curse to bear from henceforth. But if the serpent should try and find a way to harm him or bring harm to him in any way, then he has permission to bring harm to the serpent if he must. Azazel is the Hebrew word for scapegoat. This is the only place that the Hebrew word is found in the whole Hebrew Old Testament. It says that the Book of Enoch, extra-biblical Jewish theological literature, dated around 200 BC, is full of demonology in reference to fallen angels. The EBC says that this text uses late Aramaic forms for these names, which indicates that the Book of Enoch most likely relies upon the Hebrew Leviticus text rather than the Leviticus text being reliant upon the Book of Enoch. In Islam, Azazel appears in relation to the story of Harut and Marut, a pair of angels mentioned in the Quran. Although not explained by the Quran itself, Muslim exegetes, such as Al-Kalbi and Al-Halabi, usually linked the reason of their abode to a narration related to the watchers known from 3 Enoch. Just as in 3 Enoch, angels complained about humans' iniquity, whereupon God offered a test, that the angels might choose 3 among them to descend to earth, endowed with bodily desires, and proof that they would do better than humans under the same conditions. Accordingly, they choose Atzaiah and Azazel. However, Azazel repented his decision and God allowed him to turn back to heaven. The other 2 angels failed the test and their names were changed to Harut and Marut. They ended up on earth, introducing men to illicit magic. Harut and Marut were also known as Utu and Vadu, the founders of the Druidic holy warriors, which tells a totally different background story to that which I will go over later. Also the deities of Angra Mainyu and Ahura of the Zoroastrian religion are said to be these same 2 angels as well. Also when Moses had parted the seas, it was these 2 angels, resembling descriptions of the ancient titans that were huge in size like that of a skyscraper building, who appeared and held back the waters as the Hebrews crossed. The 2 angels of God that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, they were the 2 that were sent to test the people, by Lot's suggestion. This was also the last time anyone reported seeing the angelic host of God, and the last thing he said to Harriet was that he would meet him in the city which bears my name. Going over the accounts and records, I have decoded the location he was speaking of. For he is the Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, I am therefore I am. That's just where he went. To the lost city of I am, which incidentally on this voice app sounds the same as God's name, I am. According to Harriet's account, Marat was the real God who had been snuck out of heaven just before the Leviathan arrived and assaulted heaven, which led to the destruction of the path that led to heaven when Michael defeated him, smashing through every realm on the way down and anchoring him down through the 7 seals of the sages as they fell, and then locking him into an alternate pocket universe called the Forbidden Realm or the Bottomless Pit. Just before this battle, however, the 7 fallen angels of the first rebellions' sentence was passed upon them, and the dominions of their exile from heaven were given along with the keys of those dominions, and a special task was assigned. The task was the first mention of the coming Messiah and his purpose. That Lucifer and Earl were each given keys of life, death, and perdition, or the place of punishment or hell. It was ordered that Earl would usher the souls of man not just to the land of the dead, but it specifically states to usher them to and from the land of the dead. That at an appointed time Earl was to give over the keys of life and Lucifer was to give over the keys of death to the Son of Man, so that he can fulfill his purpose and cleanse the sins of man and rise from his death. Not too much else was mentioned in this section pertaining to these keys. Harriet stated that they were each tasked with a specific dominion within existence like Earl and Lucifer were, and they were sentenced to walk the earth in exile without a physical form until the end of the world of man, and then they were to sit outside the gates of heaven until the time of the final judgment, from which they would then be judged first along with the prophets and the ministers of his word. They would be judged more harshly than mankind, for they were not required to go through the tests of faith to receive God's reward of spiritual fulfillment to those who are faithful. They would not have to live a single moment of knowing the sensation of existing without the knowledge of whether or not God truly exists. If their duties were judged to be by his will, then they may re-enter heaven. Those who are not will be cast into the eternal flames of the lake of fire. Now what Harriet was saying is that one of the exiles, Pithl, was actually God disguising himself among them, as they were then banished from heaven afterward. Now the other fallen exiles also agreed in separate conversations on associated topics, that soon after their exile they heard about the war and the defeat of the dragon, and that his forces were still scattered and hidden around the world. Due to the drama they had gone through because of these remnant rebels' actions, the fallen banded together and became the first demon hunters as their revenge against them. They hunted down the Mesopotamian gods and the Egyptian gods they were hiding behind. All this, except for that last part, was removed by the Pope and Bishop in the 15th century from the Bible, as it was seen as promoting the sins and worship of Satanism supposedly. But I see it as a more strategic attack to ensure man is left in the dark than anything else. And now for a commercial advertisement written and directed by, hold on, we're having to check the prompter. Is that what he really scripted for my lines? Okay, I got it. Let's just keep going and we'll edit all this later. What do you mean the editorial department is out on COVID-19 sick leave? No, God doesn't have his own editorial department to do this. Don't you think if he did maybe I wouldn't even be here? Geez, this labor force nowadays have gotten real cocky, walking around like their 401k don't stink. Alright, from the top. This commercial advertisement was written by the illustrious supreme leader and multi-talented dictator with a Sonic the Hedgehog mop. Okay, cut. I fucked up my lines. I forgot to remember not to think about his hair when speaking about him, damn it. Okay, here we go, let's just finish. The supreme leader of North Korea, the best Korea, wishes to show his ability to extend mercy and understanding even to those of inferior genetic quality, such as his, for Asians may have small penises compared to white Congo jungle orangutans like Americans, but that only applies to Chinese Asians. All Korean males are born and breed with superior penises with a guaranteed stamp of authenticity from the Rock of Gibraltar Erectile Enhancement Company. Now for an episode of The Adventures of Kim Jong-un, who they call the Rocket Man because he likes to rock out with his supreme cock out.
The Adventures of Kim Jong-un. Real things that really happened to Kim Jong-un. The penalty for questioning this program's accuracy is death by scorpion, so enjoy your mandatory viewing of The Adventures of Kim Jong-un.
Missile test will commence in 3, 2, 1.
The North Korean missiles are the best missiles. There is only one problem. Oh, most glorious centaur of virility. The rest of the world doesn't believe it. We blame your old enemy, Western media.
Today's top story. Kim Jong-un's juggling skills do not impress women.
I don't know how much longer I can print these filthy lies! Our Liberator has arrived!
Ah! Blood goblins! Attack!
He's too strong! Retreat to the comments section!
It's Avenger Man Robert Downey Jr. He's Kim Jong-un's best friend.
Duh. KJ, my man! I brought you your own Iron Man armor. You need more power! Take this, my ally! Please, be merciful. I was just jealous. He's juggling so magnificent.
Those lessons weren't a waste of time, at all.
Print journalism is dying dead.
I actually brought you one more thing. It's from your dad.
KJ, his flow's so fine. Missing his show would be a crime. Missing his show would be a crime.
The punishment is castration by donkey.
The Adventures of Kim Jong-un.
Today's episode, Wedlock Ceremony Crisis Hour, go! Finally, the two most perfect human beings will be joined in matrimony.
Oh, Kim Jong-un, nothing could make me happier than marrying you of my own free will.
If there are any objections to these two being wed, speak now and
Face immediate execution.
We object.
Bradley Pitt, Georges Clooney, Ryan Gosling Reynolds.
I don't care how handsome and well-endowed you are, Kim Jong-un. Ri Jo-soo will be our bride.
But there are three of you and only one of her.
In degenerate America, she can marry all three of us.
And this baby goat, which is also gay!
Attack! He fights with the beauty of a cherry tree, blossoming in winter. But not well enough. Laser! No!
You fool! Your attack has weakened the barrier wall. All the women who desire Kim Jong-un for themselves are no longer restrained.
If we can't have Kim Jong-un, nobody can!
Kim Jong-un suddenly remembered he was the orphan son of a dying alien race, and his mere presence on this planet gave him the super ability to fly at great speeds.
Our deaths are the inevitable result of capitalist excess!
I'm dying, Kim Jong-un. Please, so that we may be together, transfer my spirit into a robot that looks exactly like Anne Hathaway.
My love, I'm alive! Let us go play StarCraft! which I now agree is a worthwhile and masculine pursuit.